Hey folks, Jesse here from Onion Grass Gardens. It's a new year and we have new goals for the food forest. So come along with me today while we talk about goal number 2 that I'm referring to as Operation Lots of Greens. So we're going to be talking about the whys, the hows, and we're going to plant some seeds. So let's get to it. So the goal this year is to have greens available from spring through fall without a break. That's what we're going to try to do. And next question would be, well, why? Why this emphasis? Well, number one is nutrition. My husband and I have made a lot of dietary changes lately. We are cutting out all corn syrup. We have cut out most processed foods. We still buy a few things here and there like tortillas, but we're cutting out processed foods and we are focusing on building our nutrition levels and having a lot more of a vegetable forward kind of diet. So leafy greens are just part of that strategy of making sure that we're getting the vitamins and minerals that we need for a healthy diet. Did I mention our chickens? Because actually the leafy greens are also for the nutrition of our chickens. The more leafy greens that chickens eat, the better the nutrition of their eggs. So by working on the nutrition of our chickens and taking really good care of them, we are also taking good care of us. So the leafy greens, as a side note, are also for the chickens. Another reason for the emphasis on the greens is for perennials. And I'm currently trying to build a food forest. And one of the problems you immediately run into when you start building a food forest is that most of the perennials are fruits. They're fruit trees and berries, or they're nuts. And those are fantastic. But in the beginning, you start saying, okay, well, I'm going to put in perennial vegetables. And you get in your asparagus and you get in your artichokes. And then you're just kind of like, huh, what else is there? So after doing a lot of research, I've been finding more and more perennial greens, things like perennial kale, which we're going to be planting today, tree spinach, a Japanese green called mitsuba, which can be planted as a perennial or an annual. It's supposed to have the flavor kind of halfway in between cilantro and parsley, which is fine for us. We are a cilantro household. So there are a number of greens. There's perennial scallions that you can grow, but you have to go looking for them. They're not just out there on the market. You kind of have to know they exist, and then you have to search them out. So part of what I'm doing in this year's strategy is really trying to emphasize getting perennial greens in the ground, and for the purpose of, my food, I'm counting the alliums, things, anything in the onion family, I'm counting as a green in this case, mostly because the perennials are the things like perennial scallions, perennial chives, that sort of thing. And they're the kind of things we're going to be throwing in salads and tacos and on sandwiches and stuff. So I'm counting those as greens. Yes, I know scientifically they're not like greens like lettuce, but we do eat the greens, so I'm counting them as green. This is some mitsuba that I've sprouted. It's supposed to be kind of like a cross between parsley and cilantro. It's an Asian spice. I got the seeds from Kitazawa Seed Company. I've always had really good results with their products. You can either get it straight from them or from True Leaf Market. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but if you value having some Asian greens in your garden, they are an excellent source for that. And these hopefully are going to be an excellent source of some perennial greens for us in the food forest. if you're curious about my thought process behind the seeds I choose, definitely check out my video where I talk about my seed standards. I will put that up in the corner and in the description so you can check that out. For a second, I'd like to discuss the perennial kale that you're going to see me planting here momentarily. And I have the facts about it written down on some paper, so you'll excuse me if I look down a little bit while I'm talking about it. So I received this seed from the Experimental Farm Network. I bought it from them, and it was through a breeding program that used a Grex. And if you haven't heard of a Grex is basically when a bunch of plants of the same type are all planted near each other. So you might have 20 different types of cabbage, for example, and you plant them all together and you let them seed and you let them cross. And you do this across multiple generations, and you begin selecting for hardiness or colors or flavor or nutritional value, whatever it is that you value. And in this case, the breeder, Chris Hominix, has done so with perennial kales. He started out with purple tree collards and Daubenton kale. He crossed them with each other and then continued to cross them with other perennial kales and other brassicas, because if you're not aware, your brassicas can all cross. You can cross your Brussels sprouts with your kale and whatnot. Anything from that cabbage family can cross with each other, and he did some of that. He crossed some of these kales with cabbages and collards and whatnot, and did so since the year 2011, and as of the filming of this, we're in early 2026. So this has been going on for some time, and he basically has bred for things that don't go to seed easily, a bushy perennial habitat, drought resistance, and winter hardiness, all of which are great for survivability in the garden, especially in a climate like mine where there are a lot of really extreme ups and downs. So all of this information is available on their website, the experimentalfarmnetwork.org. And if you're interested, and you can order these seeds there too. But it's my hopes with the perennial kale that I can get some more perennial greens established in the food forest. So we'll see what we get. So I've decided that with these seeds, I'm only going to do one per tray. And that's because there was so much mixed breeding going on, because this was bred in a Grex, that each one of these seeds is going to be genetically unique from all the other seeds. So I don't want to have seeds that some of them might, that I'd have to pluck out and then lose some of that genetic variety. So if I end up with a cell or two that are empty because something didn't come up, that's fine. I'm willing to take that risk, because I doubt we need this many perennial kales in the first place. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop one per cell here, and we'll see what we get. We'll see if we'll get a purple one, a variegated one, see if we get one with extra special flavors. We don't even know, because these are a mix. But I'm trying to be optimistic. I've planted these in the purple trays because I really want one that's purple. So hopefully we'll get a purple one. If we don't, I won't be disappointed. I'll live. But I'm hoping for purple. Now I am planting a lot of chives and green onions this year. And I know you might be thinking, Jess, that's a little excessive, but here's the thing. All right. I'm becoming my grandma. All right. So somewhere when I hit my 40s, somewhere in there, all of a sudden, I just wanted green onions on everything. Green onions and chives. I just want them on everything all the time now. And I remember this moment when I was a teenager and I was at my grandparents' house, and my grandma Shirley would always make one potato salad without green onions and another smaller one for herself with, because she was always very respectful of the fact that not everyone liked green onions on their stuff. So And me being a teenager, God, I was such a punk, asked her, straight up asked her, why she was ruining the food with green onions. And you know what? This is what I get now. Yeah, this is what I get. I gave my grandma sass, and now I get to become her. Now I want green onions on everything. So, you know, here I am, ruining the food. Also, if there was ever a yard that wanted to grow onions, it's this yard. There's a reason that the name of this channel is Onion Grass Gardens. See, I want you to look at this. Look at this. See that? That's wild onion. Every green tuft you see in this lawn at this moment is not grass. It's wild onion. And on a smaller scale, my third goal is just to learn how to make pita bread, because I have this idea in my head that this year I want to be able to walk into the garden, pick some stuff, right? And go make some pita bread, put the stuff in the pocket, and have that for lunch. And having greens just seems like a no-brainer for that, whether I'm putting in lettuce and cilantro, or I'm putting in cabbage or chard or whatever, spinach. Any of those things would be great. So we're not really a sourdough bread household. I know a lot of people who are out there homesteading right now do sourdough starters and sourdough bread, and that just doesn't really fit our household and the way we eat. We're more of a flatbread people, so we like to eat things wrapped in tortillas and whatnot. So one of my goals for this year is to learn how to make pita bread and grow the things to stuff it with. I will also be planting a lot of spices as part of this strategy, things like dill, parsley, cilantro, but that'll come later in the season. I'll probably honestly seed the cilantro in late February outdoors, because in the past it started coming up in March. It likes that cooler weather. So those will probably be seeded directly into the food forest, but the spices have really been key. I've noticed, for example, in my garden that when I let the cilantro go to seed, that's where the ladybugs like to be. The cilantro always has ladybugs all over it. And since one of the goals is to attract the predators that take care of pests, in this case, ladybugs take care of aphids, I will probably be planting a lot of cilantro around things like my perennial kale, because the brassicas do tend to be a little bit prone to aphids. So I will likely be planting the cilantro near them as part of my strategy to attract the ladybugs to that area. So not only are the spices really important as far as our nutrition and also flavor in my whole pita bread strategy that we've got going on here, but they're also really important to the health of the other plants. So I will be planting a great deal of those come spring. All right, today I am planting two types of Swiss chard, and orange Swiss chard. The rib and stalk is orange on this with green leaves, and also this one called Firebird. And the Firebird is a red stalk with purple leaves. First of all, I'm trying to eat more purple foods because they're supposed to be better for you, but also I get one of my pet peeves in watching other food forestry videos is that you look at people's food forests and it's just a big pile of green, and you can't really tell what's going on in there because everything's the same color. And I want to see what's going on in there. So on the one hand, that's not a criticism because it's fantastic. They've got a successful green food forest. So that's not in any way a criticism, but I'm going to fix that in my food forest, and we're going to have purple things. looky in there. Oh, these are some nice big seeds. So part of the reason I'm putting these out early is because last year I tried growing these from seeds in the ground. And what ended up happening is that roly-polies came along and ate every single sprout. And I didn't get any Swiss chard last year, which is sad because we love Swiss chard in this household. What we've planted today and what you've seen in this video is not all of the greens we're going to be doing this year. There are still a lot more tender greens that it's just not time to seed either indoor or out at this moment. Those include lettuce, spinach, a lot of things with spinach in the name that aren't actually spinach, tree spinach, New Zealand spinach, Malabar spinach. So those things will be coming later in the year. Look at this. 7 days later, already starting to pop. Some of these have 100% germination, like the gypsy broccoli, the aspabroc. Gorgeous. So that's it, folks. Those are the two main goals for 2025. I'm trying to keep it simple. So if you saw the previous video about soil health, that was goal number 1. Goal number 2 is just operation, lots of greens. But stay tuned. Coming up, I'm going to have a video about kind of the baseline of where we're starting here in the food forest for 2026. And where we're going from here. What are the plans for 2026? What plants are we going to be replacing? What plants are we going to be adding? Besides all the greens. So stay tuned. I'll see you next time.